So, imagine for a second that it is well past midnight, and
Yeah.
you are deep inside the Indian wilderness, specifically a region known as the Bihad.
The ravines.
Right, the ravines. And if you know anything about the geography of central India, you know the Bihad isn't just a typical forest.
No, not at all.
It's basically a geological nightmare. I mean, it's this maze of deep fissures, thorny scrub everywhere, and these really narrow footpaths that just they drop off into absolute nothingness.
And it has this silence that just feels incredibly heavy. It is the kind of terrain that eats cell signal and disorients you even in broad daylight.
Exactly. So picture yourself there, but in the pitch black.
Right.
Your flashlight batteries are starting to drain. The friends you're with, people you really trust, they're starting to
Yeah,
panic.
that's already a bad situation.
And just to dial the intensity up to an 11, you are carrying an Aztec Death Whistle.
Wow. Okay.
And your plan. You intend to use it to challenge a spirit that allegedly haunts a ruin somewhere out there in this darkness.
I mean, it sounds exactly like the setup for a found footage horror movie, doesn't it?
It really does. But this is actually a real situation that we are breaking down today.
Right.
We're doing a deep dive into a really chaotic, completely raw transcript from a vlog by the YouTube channel RKR History.
Yeah, and it documents a paranormal investigation that just goes completely off the rails.
Completely. And honestly, looking through the source material, it's not necessarily the ghosts that's the scariest part.
No, it's the environment itself.
Right, the environment, the breakdown of the group dynamics, and just the sheer primal terror of getting lost in the dark.
What really stands out to me in this transcript is that it serves as a perfect laboratory for fear.
Yeah.
We have this team RKR, who is the lead investigator, along with Pawan Bai and Ashok Bai, and they venture into this totally hostile terrain.
So our mission today is to reconstruct their night. We need to look at how the physical landscape, the sheer exhaustion, and some really intense psychological priming turned a standard YouTube video shoot into a genuine survival situation.
Absolutely. So let's set the stage a bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
The team arrives at the edge of this wilderness around 11:30 p.m., so pushing toward midnight. RKR describes this area of the behead as spreading over about 150 behead.
Which is a massive chunk of land to be wandering around in at night.
Right. And right from the jump, the environment basically dictates the terms. They arrive on motorcycles, which gives you this false sense of mobility at first.
Yeah, you feel like you can just leave whenever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But RKR immediately notes that the bikes have to be left behind.
Right, because the terrain shifts from these rideable dirt tracks to these super narrow footpaths, what they call pagdandia, that just wind right through the ravines.
And that moment of leaving the bikes behind it feels really
Yeah,
significant.
it's the first real severance from safety.
Yeah. RKR points out the mud on the tires to show how rough the ride has already been, but they have to abandon the machines to reach a specific location.
A ruin they call the Room, which is supposedly about 500 meters deep into the jungle.
Now, on paper, 500 meters is nothing.
Right, it's a 5-minute walk to the corner store.
But in a ravine at midnight, that distance is totally deceptive.
It becomes a labyrinth. And this is where we need to spend some time, because the first 2 hours of this transcript are just excruciating to read.
Yeah, it's the phase of total disorientation.
RKR and Pawan mentioned they have actually visited the site twice before.
Right, so they should know the way
They should. But almost immediately, their memory totally fails them.
because of the darkness.
Mm.
It completely alters your spatial awareness.
Yeah.
But it's also the homogeneity of the terrain. Every single thorny bush looks like every other thorny bush out there.
And you see them in the transcript standing there arguing, saying things like, is it left? Is it right? Did we come through these bushes?
And RKR is the leader, right? He's the one with the channel.
Yeah.
But you can literally hear the frustration in his voice. He keeps saying, I've been here twice, but I can't find the path.
And that erosion of authority is so dangerous in a group setting. When the leader gets lost, the anxiety in the rest of the group spikes instantly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And naturally, they try to use technology to solve it.
Right. The phones.
RKR asks for a mobile map. And this brings up such a fascinating point about how we rely on digital tools in physical chaos.
Yeah.
The map shows their blue dot. It shows the location of the room. It looks so simple on the screen.
But that's the classic trap of modern navigation, isn't it? The blue dot fallacy.
Exactly.
The screen says you're there, practically standing on top of the ruin.
Right, relying purely on GPS coordinates.
But the screen doesn't show the 20-foot drop or the massive wall of babool thorns right in front of your face.
No, it doesn't. RKR is looking at a 2D straight line, but the behind is a 3D nightmare.
Yeah.
He says, "The trail we found is out of range." That phrase really stuck with me.
Like a great quote.
They are staring at a screen telling them they're close, while their physical reality is literally scratching them with thorns and blocking their path.
It creates this intense cognitive dissonance. Like the machine says I'm here, but I literally cannot see it.
And while they're struggling with this tech failure, hacking through bushes and just getting more and more frustrated, the audio landscape starts turning against them too.
Right, they start hearing the animals.
The Kia, the jackals.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a distant howl. RKR notes that they are in a pack, a Jilland, and they actually seem to be responding to the team's voices.
That is the part that gave me absolute chills reading it. You speak, and the darkness yips back at you.
It creates complete sensory overload. Just think about the stress cocktail here.
Okay.
You have the visual stress of the limited flashlight beam, so you have tunnel vision.
Right.
You have the tactile stress of the thorns tearing at your clothes.
Uh-huh.
And now, the auditory stress of predators, or at least perceived predators, encircling you.
The transcript shows them getting really jumpy. They start saying, "What was that sound? Who is there?"
It effectively flips the script on them. They went in as investigators, as hunters of the supernatural.
But before they even find the ghost, the environment has already turned them into prey. They are incredibly vulnerable.
And this wandering goes on for 2 solid hours.
2 hours of circling, backtracking, and arguing.
By the time they actually spot the room, they are already totally exhausted, dehydrated, and their adrenaline is spiked.
They are chemically primed for a bad time.
Exactly. Which brings us to the second phase of this deep dive, the room and the priming.
Right, they finally find the ruin. But let's unpack the lore here first because it's important. Why are they looking for this specific room?
So RKR explains the backstory. This is allegedly a site where a young girl was raped and murdered, and her spirit is said to remain there.
It's a really heavy, tragic narrative.
It is.
So they are walking into this location with that specific horror story playing in their heads. That is the lens through which they are going to interpret absolutely everything that happens next.
Correct. And when they finally arrive, they find physical evidence that totally reinforces this grim atmosphere.
Yeah, they find bones.
They find bones, and they find a pile of ash or powder.
And this is where the psychology gets really fascinating.
Right.
RKR looks at the ash and realizes what it actually is.
Right.
He says, "This is the cremation ash we left here last time."
That is such a crucial detail. RKR admits that he brought the ash from a cremation ground on a previous visit.
Yeah.
But now, seeing it again in the dark, along with some bones, which are likely just animal bones given the jackals we just talked about,
Yeah.
it acts as a massive trigger.
It's almost like he stage managed his own panic.
He really did.
He planted a prop in Act 1 weeks ago, and now in Act 2, that exact same prop is scaring him.
Precisely. This is what we call priming, but it's a really aggressive form of it.
Yeah.
He didn't just walk into a spooky place. He literally carried the haunting in his pocket in the form of that ash.
Wow.
By planting that seed, by saying, we brought this ash and now it's here, he basically ensured that every shadow or rustle would be interpreted through the lens of that specific grim narrative.
He gave the chaos a storyline before the first ghost ever showed up.
And he explicitly states in the transcript, the atmosphere is heavy. He is convincing his team and himself that the danger is rapidly escalating.
And the team buys into it completely, specifically Pawan Pai. We see a sudden, really drastic shift in his behavior right here.
Which brings us to section 3 of our breakdown, the possession and the challenge.
Right.
Pawan Pai sits down. He becomes totally unresponsive, sluggish, maybe holding his head.
Yeah.
Now, logically, this man has been hiking through super rough terrain for over 2 hours in the middle of the night.
Right. Dehydration, exhaustion, low blood sugar, those are all perfectly valid explanations.
But because of the priming, because of the ash and the bones and the story they've been telling themselves, RKR and Ashok don't see exhaustion.
They see a spiritual attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
RKR starts saying things like, bring him out.
Yeah.
And the spirit is trying to possess him.
And that has to be absolutely terrifying for Bawana, right?
Without a doubt.
You feel sick, your vision is maybe blurry, and suddenly your friends are yelling that a ghost is taking over your body.
It creates a nasty feedback loop. Pawan feels bad, the team panics and says it's a ghost, which probably makes Pawan feel worse or more panicked.
And that just confirms the group's shared delusion. They're totally winding each other up.
So RKR decides to fight back. And this is where the death whistle comes into play.
Yes, the whistle.
He decides to issue an ultimatum to the spirit. It's this crazy, high-stakes negotiation.
Right.
RKR addresses the entity directly. He calls her sister at first, trying to be somewhat respectful, saying, "If you are here, show yourself."
But then he hard pivots to a threat.
He does.
He says, if you don't appear, we have equipment to force you. He is literally threatening to torture the spirit into manifesting.
Torture is such a strong word to use against a ghost.
It really is. And the weapon of choice is this whistle. Let's talk about the Aztec Death Whistle for a second, because context is key here.
Yeah,
It's designed to sound exactly like a human scream.
right. It is. It's a horrifying guttural sound. It is specifically designed to instill terror. So think about the logic here for a second.
Yeah.
You are already scared out of your mind.
Yeah.
You firmly believe your friend is currently being possessed by a ghost.
And your solution, your grand idea, is to blow a whistle that sounds like a screaming corpse in the middle of a dark, isolated ravine.
It's quite literally asking for trouble. And then he blows it.
And this is the climax of the night. He blows the whistle to challenge the spirit, and immediately they hear a sound.
The transcript just gets so chaotic right here. They describe it as a whistle returning the call or some noise coming from up there.
And RKR just screams, "There is someone on top of the room."
And the dynamic shatters instantly.
Yeah, completely shattered.
Just moments ago, RKR was the aggressor. He was the confident guy holding the equipment, making threats, demanding the ghost show up.
Right.
But the very second they hear that sound, the power balance flips completely. He yells, "Run, get out! Someone is up there."
It's wild. Do we have any idea what that sound actually was?
Well, based solely on the transcript, we can't know for absolutely sure. It could have just been an echo in the ravine. Those geological formations do really strange things with sound.
That makes sense.
It could have been a bird or an animal reacting to the shrill, awful sound of the death whistle.
Yeah.
Or, if you want to be totally skeptical about the production aspect, it could be a teammate making a noise.
Sure.
But honestly, the actual source doesn't matter nearly as much as their reaction to it.
Their terror is 100% genuine.
It really is.
Yeah.
They are absolutely convinced that something is physically present on the roof of that ruin just looking down at them.
And that leads directly to the retreat. They stop being paranormal investigators right then and there and just start running for their lives.
And this is exactly where the reality of the behead comes back to bite them again.
Yeah.
This brings us to section 4. The retreat and the 3 a.m. dilemma. They flee the room, but you have to remember they barely found it in the first place.
So they are lost again.
Yes.
But now they're running on pure adrenaline, terror, and panic.
They are lost, but with a whole new layer of intense paranoia.
Yeah.
It is 3:00 a.m. They check the time explicitly in the video. RKR says, "It's 3 a.m., forget the content, forget the challenge. We just need to find the bikes."
And their batteries are dying.
Right.
They keep mentioning, light down, hurry, hey. The light is getting dim.
That is a massive primal fear trigger right there, the dying light.
It forces your brain to fill in the gaps.
Exactly. When you can't see clearly, your imagination just takes over.
And their imagination is currently populated entirely by angry ghosts and packs of jackals.
The paranoia is just rampant at this point. RKR throws a stone into the dark to see if something reacts to it, and then claims something actually threw it back or made a sound in response.
Oh, man.
And then he warns the others, "Don't look back."
That is such a chilling phrase. Don't look back.
It really is.
It implies that if you look, you'll see something you simply can't unsee. It firmly cements the idea in their heads that they are actively being hunted.
It creates a shared reality where the monster is definitely right behind you.
Yeah.
But the real conflict here, the one that actually ends the transcript, is a massive decision-making crisis.
Right.
They're completely exhausted. They absolutely cannot find the trail back to the bikes.
And they spot some distant lights, right?
Yeah, maybe a highway or a nearby village.
Mm-hmm.
But RKR estimates they're about 3 to 4 kilometers away.
And in that specific terrain, 4 kilometers might as well be 40.
Exactly.
You can't just walk in a straight line toward the light. You have to go down into a deep ravine, scramble up the other side, push through walls of thorns.
Exactly. RKR argues that the terrain is completely impassable in the dark.
Yeah.
So they're left with a truly terrible choice. Option A. Keep wandering in the pitch dark, risking a serious injury. And breaking a leg in a ravine out there is basically a death sentence.
Right.
Plus, they're just terrifying themselves even further.
Or option B. Light a fire? Sit in one spot in the middle of this haunted, jackal-filled ravine and just wait for the sun to come up. Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. And the transcript actually ends right there, doesn't it? We don't actually see them get out.
No, it ends on that exact note of uncertainty. Let's light a fire and wait.
Wow.
It's a moment of total surrender. The Behead has won, the paranormal investigation is over, and basic survival is the only goal they have left.
It is incredible how fast the whole thing fell apart.
It really is.
I mean, they started out as these confident guys with a YouTube channel and a literal death whistle, and just 6 hours later, they are huddled together in the dirt, debating whether they can even survive the night.
It really highlights the fragility of our modern confidence.
Yeah.
We have GPS, we have ultra-bright flashlights, we have cameras. We feel so in control of our surroundings.
But strip away that battery power, put us in a landscape that doesn't follow the rules of a digital map, and we revert to very primitive fears very, very quickly. It really makes you think about the true nature of a haunting.
Right.
If we look at the big picture here, what actually caused the panic? Was it the ghost?
Well, looking at it purely objectively, there was no definitive supernatural interaction recorded.
No.
There was no clear visual of a ghost, no levitating objects, nothing like that. What we actually have is a sound from a roof and a sick team member.
Right.
But the experience of the haunting was entirely real to them
Yeah.
because it was created by the environment. The sensory deprivation, the sheer physical exhaustion of fighting through thorns, the extreme disorientation of being lost.
And that intense psychological priming.
Exactly. The rape and murder backstory mixed with the cremation ash, that specific cocktail created a monster in the dark.
It's almost like the Behead itself was the entity they were fighting.
It really was.
The ravines just stripped away all their logic. By the time they actually blew that whistle, their brains were already desperately looking for a reason to panic.
Yeah.
The whistle just gave them the necessary excuse to finally release that pent-up fear.
They went out there to challenge the dead, but they ended up just battling their own primal survival instincts.
And the environment was the perfect accomplice.
It's such a fascinating look into human psychology under extreme pressure.
It really is. RKR, Pawan, and Ashok went looking for a challenge, and they definitely found one.
Just maybe not the one they expected to find.
Right. And honestly, the scariest thing out there wasn't the spirit at all. It was the sudden realization that they were completely helpless in the face of nature.
Totally helpless.
So here is a final question for you to mull over tonight.
Okay.
In a situation of total sensory deprivation and incredibly high stress, can you ever really trust what you hear?
That is the question.
Or does the mind simply create the exact monster it expects to find?
I think we all know the answer to that is a lot murkier than we'd like to admit.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the ravines today.
It was a wild ride.
Stay safe, stay curious, and maybe keep a backup map, a physical paper one if you're ever heading into the wild.
And fresh batteries. Always pack
Seriously.
fresh battery.
See you next time.